Okay. Ooh, talking about bug snacks. Hello.
Oh, you started.
Hey.
Talking about bug snacks. The
Bug
full song.
snacks.
Bug snacks.
The heck are those?
The full song's out now, like with the lyrics and everything. Go listen to Bug Snacks. It's the song of the year. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Hello. Welcome to the Lucky Hit Podcast. I'm going to have to change something on my computer, on my setup, because I'm too loud or maybe too quiet. Yeah, I think that's fine. Hopefully
Yeah,
that's
you
all good.
definitely.
Huh?
Sound
What?
cool to me.
Ah,
Yeah, it's all right there.
Right.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Lucky Hit Podcast number 80. Ooh,
80.
It's a milestone. Ooh, it's always a milestone. Any time we manage to pull off a podcast, it is a milestone. And this chair is very quick, very creaky. It is the 22nd of July, 2020. I'm the Gagaman.
I'm CherryT.
I'm Hunk Thunder.
Hi, I'm Elk. You may remember me from
I like how you couldn't even get
trying.
halfway through that sentence. You tried
Oh,
sticker
no,
for
I-
you.
Well, that's a great start to the show.
Broke Elk himself. Broke Elk himself this time. That's what I meant to say. Elk broke himself this time.
Damn it, I broke my own joke.
Yeah, welcome. Sorry, this is on a Wednesday. That's kind of unusual for us, especially since I'm not actually like at work or anything, so I haven't got that as an excuse. Basically, just stuff, other stuff, whatever. So yeah, we're here. It is the 22nd of July. It is Nadia's birthday.
Officially now.
Yeah, as in the protagonist of P.O.P.O. Happy birthday, happy birthday, fictional character that doesn't exist.
Yeah,
that today or was that yesterday?
No, that's
It
today.
is today. Yeah, I think the reason loads of fan art was popping up on my feed yesterday is because of Japan time.
Oh. Oh, yeah.
My
It's
feed has.
Japan.
I think it's because of one
Japan
person
stuff.
just retweeting it all, but my feed has been almost just a wash of fan art of that character for the last 24 hours. Kind of fine with it, to be honest. Yeah, anyway. Yeah, before we start with what we normally start with, I just wanted to mention a little thing with a little update about the channel. So if anyone looks on our channel and looks at the most popular videos, you may notice a few videos might be missing. So just to let you know, they're not gone, they're just unlisted, and the reason I've unlisted them is not because I'm sick of the sight of Thomas, even though I am kind of sick of the sight of that. I'm literally doing it to see if it will manipulate YouTube's algorithm in some way, so hopefully our stuff gets recommended to people other than children. So basically it's the 4 Thomas videos, the Good Claw Expression Train Game one and the Finger Family one, because even all the Finger Family ones are April Fools and it's meant to be taking the mick out of the whole thing. I think YouTube's algorithm has decided it is one of those videos, one of those Finger Family videos, and then that's how we keep ending up with like gurgling children in our chat and stuff. So I'm just seeing if hiding knows. You can still watch them on the channel, they're in the playlists. If you go to like the Gaga and Cherry Fap About In playlist or the Amiga playlist, stuff like that, it will pop up. They will pop up there, so it's not like you can't watch them. I just don't want them to show up in the search because I want people to find us for other things.
Yeah.
You know, the many other like 600 plus videos we've done.
You know what's popped up on my homepage? Murray Curry's largest kebab ever. Just out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Wow, brilliant. One of the most popular videos on our channel that's not Thomas is that kebab video of all things. It's that and the Silent Hill 2 cover that we did many years ago with
Jesse.
with your dog
Yep.
Jesse. Yeah. that still
she's-
constantly gets
Yeah.
nice glowing comments, which I'm always quite happy about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm always getting those kind of comments where it's like, oh, I'm on the weird part of YouTube again, or oh, how have I never seen this before, and all that kind of stuff. And I like that. I like when people leave comments. When people leave nice comments, it puts a warm, fuzzy feeling in my tummy. That sounded almost a bit gross. Yeah, anyway, let's start how we usually start with these things, by talking about what we've been playing. I don't know who wants to go first.
I can rather.
Right.
Yeah, obviously Animal Crossing, as usual.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm on a streak of about 125 days now. What else?
Oh, what, like
Yeah.
playing it each day?
Yeah, since
Oh,
launch.
wow.
So,
Okay, that's cool.
mhm.
Consistency.
Yeah, and no doubt you're going to mention some of these games later, Gagaman, but
Oh, yes.
Konami had a little sale
Oh, yes.
on the eShop. So, yeah, I've been playing some Konami classics, as in Contra, Haunted Castle, which is hilarious bad.
Yep.
What else have I been playing?
Music, though.
Yeah, it's great music. Trying to think what else is in the Konami collections. But yeah, made my way through those, which was very good for £4 each.
Yeah, they're like 50p a game, because each one of those collections has like 8 games in it, and that's not even including like the regional variants.
Yeah, I had the Castlevania one on day one, and I've always been waiting for the other two to go down in price, and yeah I went for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Other than that, I have upgraded my PC somewhat.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I actually stuck 32 gigabytes of RAM in it, so it actually can run games now.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, as some people may have seen, my Devolverland Expo video, my PC could only run on low settings at 720p.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I since I stuck the RAM in, it's running on epic settings and at 1080p. So I'm happy with that.
That's good.
Yeah.
It took.
So was that Elk?
That's all it took.
Yeah.
Just needed some more RAM.
Yeah. Amazon are basically selling off sticks of RAM cheap at the moment, so I was just waiting for the point where it's cheap enough.
I'm trying to remember how much RAM mine even has.
I must have quite a lot.
You do 16.
My desktop has my desktop has, I think, 32 gigs of RAM.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, I got 16, so maybe it's about time I maybe shoved another 16 in there. I don't know if it's got 2 8s or what, but I'll have a look, I guess.
Well,
my first computer that I built in the mid 2000s had 16 gigs of RAM.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have had this laptop for quite a few years now, so that'd be why.
Yeah,
I think 16 was the standard back then when I bought it.
Yeah, I was about to say your laptop's the workhorse, because you stream Spelunky from it. You do pretty much, well, you're doing the stream right now from it.
Yeah.
The podcast right now from it. So,
and it does quite often sound like a hairdryer, especially since I upgraded it to Windows 10. It wasn't so bad when I was on 7, but as soon as I upgraded it to 10, it's just just a hairdryer.
Okay, my bad. My desktop has 16 gigs of RAM.
I still win.
You win the gig war, the RAM war.
Yeah, up until
you have the most RAM. You have the most grenades.
Nice one, Shane.
Goats.
But yeah, I've been running a few PC games just to see how much better it is, and yeah, the RAM that was in my PC, I've only had it since, I'd say, 2016. So it's got a 1060 graphics card in it. So it was like the third tier of like the best graphic cards out there, and yeah, it ran everything up through at it up until a point where things were getting choppy, i.e. Star Wars Battlefront 2, that was really chugging along and like just being bogged down by the RAM. So now
it's new Battlefront 2 or the old one?
The new one. The what was it? You had to play for 40 hours to get Darth Vader version.
Oh, you poor soul.
Yeah.
So
what else? Yeah, haven't been playing any other games, so that's it for me this week.
Cool. I guess I'll go next because I'll be quick as well, because basically very similar to what you've been playing. I've been playing those Konami collections, £4 a pop. I think I had a few points that I put towards them and basically got all 3 collections for just under a tenner. So I was quite happy with that. I've mostly played the arcade one so far. So the one that's got like Gradius 2, Salamander. I think it's got this game called Thunder Cross, which I've never played before. But as soon as I booted it up, I was like, I recognise this first level song. It was in Gradius. That game's really cool.
I played that collection the most of the 3 too as well. I talked about it a bunch of times in previous podcasts.
Oh, that's true, yeah. Yeah, and as I say, Haunted Castle, just like you, I've just got kind of weirdly addicted to that one. It's incredibly cheap, and I have to keep putting save states on, but like,
you just can't put it down.
No, you really can't. I just can't get over his frigging shat his pants walk, and the way the skeletons come dancing over to you. They're like proper jiving with their hands, and it's ridiculous. And I like how, unlike the NES Castlevania, when you get hit, instead of like falling backwards, you sort of just kind of jump upwards slightly, and he sort of goes. It's like he's like really jumped out of his skin, like scared, like. It's kind of weird. I thought it was a bit bizarre that they put that game on the arcade collection and not the Castlevania collection, but I don't know why they did that.
I never understood that either. I mean, it is an arcade game, but it's also part of the Castlevania series, and the Contra collection has the arcade versions of Contra and Super Contra.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe it was just to balance out the fact that each collection has 8 games, as far as I could tell. But yeah, paying the equivalent of 50p per game, paying 50p for Contra Hardcore is considerably less than it would cost you to own an actual Mega Drive cartridge, like in any shape or form. So plus you can play the Japanese versions, which are much easier. Like, I don't think I've actually played. No, that's not true. I have definitely played the Japanese version before, but I started playing the Japanese one, and yeah, you can actually get hit and not die immediately in that game, which has always surprised me. That's mostly what I've been playing on the Contra collection so far, is the Mega Drive game, because that is probably my favourite in the series. But yeah, I do want to go back and play the other ones. I played a little bit of the Super Nintendo one. Forgot just how kind of annoying those sort of Mode 7 levels are, but yeah, otherwise that game's pretty cool too.
That one's probably my favorite of those Castlevania games. Or either that or Castlevania Bloodlines. I'm not sure which. I go back and forth. Oh, you were talking about Contra. My bad.
Yeah. Castlevania is actually a series I've barely dabbled in, so getting this collection is I'm going to kind of force myself to actually play these things, because it's just a series that I never really played much. I used to have the Mega Drive one, and I played a little bit of it, but not enough. I actually ended up selling it a while back just because I never got around to playing it much, and I don't know if I should have sold it or not, but whatever, it's gone now, and I have it on the Switch, so it's fine. Or I can just play out my Everdrive if I really want to. But yeah, mostly those, and just today they put up a sale for a couple of the Arcade Archive Hamster releases, some of the Neo Geo games and some of the arcade ones, and they put up Atomic Robo for about £3 something. So I ended up picking that up. I have a weird soft spot for that game. I know it's not like a classic, I guess it's not really like a great game, like, but it's unique and it's got its own vibe to it that's kind of unlike anything else. I always liked how when you get killed in that game, the robot sort of gives you sad puppy eyes just before he explodes. Yeah, never actually played the arcade version before. I've only ever played it on the Mega Drive. I know there were like PC Engine, and I think there was like an Amiga version. I might have played the Amiga version at some point, but I can't remember. It might even be where I played it first, but the arcade version's just got really nice, like, extra detail to it. Like when you're shooting, like there's actually a sort of like, what's the word? Sort of like a reflection of like the gunshots on the character's face, so it's like a lighting effect. It looks really cool. The music's only slightly better. Like the music in that game is such a weird mixed bag of one moment it sounds pleasant, the next minute it's absolutely atrocious, and it seems like the Mega Drive version was accurate because the arcade one isn't much better. But it's fine. I can't. It's just something very charming about that game. I don't know. It's by some developer that no one's heard of that made a handful of games back in the day. They're not even D tier Japanese developer. They literally made a handful of games and then barely anyone knows of them. I think they're called UPF or something like that.
UPL.
UPL, that's it. Yeah.
And I don't know what UPL stands for.
I think it was on the title screen somewhere, but either way, I literally just bought that today, so I've only dabbled in that a little bit, but I just wanted to talk about it anyway because I really dig that game. I just think it's neat.
Yeah, I actually bought that too, along with Armed F, which is also on sale right now. But I only played them a little bit, so I don't really have much to say about either right now.
I don't know anything about Armed F other than that it's a shooter, so might give that one a punt. I don't know.
It's a neat little shooter by Nichibutsu, actually, and I found out that Hamster actually owns the rights to all of Nichibutsu's old video games.
Yeah, I suppose someone has to.
Yeah, I suppose
someone has to own Crazy Climber.
At least it went to someone who's actually capable of releasing their own arcade game releases.
Yeah. Speaking of Crazy Climber, can we please get a port of that arcade game they did back in the Wii era? I know it was ported in Japan for the Wii. It was just called Crazy Climber Wii on the Wii, but I don't know if it's still in the South End arcades. But they had the arcade version there. Bloody love that game. It's such a good game. It's got these weird paddle controller things where you have to sort of push them downwards to climb up the building, and then you've got little arrow buttons to shift left and right, jump from one window to the other. Fantastic little game that is. I actually managed to win quite a few tickets on that game as well because I actually got pretty decent at it. I could beat 3 or 4 levels on 1 credit, which I was quite pleased with.
Yeah, I've never heard of that game. Sounds interesting.
Yeah, I can't remember what the arcade I say modern, it was probably over 10 years ago, but the 2000 and something arcade game is called. It's just Crazy Climber. I don't know what the actual name of it is, but I think the actual machine is maybe in Japanese. I can't remember. But the only thing with that one in Southend is every time they turn off the machine, as I say, I'm not even sure if it's still there. I think last time I went there, it wasn't working. It was busted. The controls weren't working, and it just had a admin attendance thing on the screen. But trying to think what I was going to say. Oh yeah. Every time they turned it off, all the scores would reset. So every time I went there, I was I'd play it, get a load of tickets, and then get top on the leaderboards. I was oh yeah, I'm the best on the leaderboard. Where's my other scores? And I'd be oh, that's why I'm the best on the leaderboard, because no one else has played it today, and it resets every day.
Oh, that blows.
Yeah.
That's like when games were ported to an old system like the Genesis or something, and it never saves the high scores. That always used to annoy me.
Yeah, that reminds me actually, going back to the Konami collections, the Contra and the Castlevania ones are ported by M2, but the arcade one is actually by the Arcade Archives Hamster guys, so it's basically the same style of emulation. And I think the only difference between them is because you can actually get some of the games in that arcade collection separately, if you really want to waste money, I suppose. But the main difference is you get online leaderboards on the separate arcade versions of Gradius and stuff. But you don't get that in the collection. But for how much cheaper it is, £4 for 8 games versus £6.29 for 1. I think I'll take that hit, as much as I'd like to have. Online leaderboards are a nice little incentive, but at the same time, when the games are 50p each, I'm not going to complain.
It is, but of course, since it's all Hamster, and there's a lot of other Konami arcade games released by Hamster that aren't in that collection. in my case, it always feels annoyingly incomplete, the collection, when you factor in all the other games that could have been in there, like that Hamster already released. Especially when you look at that bonus book that it includes, where it lists a whole bunch of other games that, even though none of those games are in the collection, like Sunset Riders is listed in that book. Frogger is in there.
They could always do another arcade collection if they want. I would be fine with more Konami collections.
They could.
If they want to do like a Bomberman collection that has like the original arcade games and some of the SNES games or something, I would be.
Oh, that's a good.
Like they
that's
own
a
that
good
now,
point.
so they could do more of these. So far, they've only put out 3, but I'm kind of hoping Konami does more of this because these collections are really nice to have. One thing I noticed about those little bonus books as well, like the Famitsu things that they put at the end of each collection, is the Castlevania one actually has all the box arts to every game, like the Mega Drive ones, the NES ones, like all the regional variants. So they've got the PAL versions and the Japanese and American versions. But the Contra one doesn't have any box arts whatsoever. Are they embarrassed that they basically just traced over Arnold Schwarzenegger?
I don't know. That's really weird.
Yeah, for some reason the Contra collection, they just didn't bother to put any box art whatsoever, and there's only one piece of artwork in the whole collection, and it's the box art to the American Contra on the SNES artwork. That's the only artwork in the whole game, so maybe that's the only one they can safely use without thinking, oh, this looks... We just kind of eyeballed a Xenomorph from Alien and Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone. We
That's
just traced
weird.
over photos of them.
I was just thinking for a minute, maybe it's a rights issue with the artist, whose name is Tom Dubois, by the way. He did the box art for Super Contra 3, actually. He did a bunch of other... He did a lot of art for Konami at the time. He also did the console box art for Sunset Riders. He did He did Turtles in Time and the Hyperstone Heist. He did a lot of Castlevania box art. He did Castlevania 3, Castlevania Bloodlines.
I can't imagine that's the issue, because as I say, the one bit of artwork they do have in that collection is the SNES box art that he did.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, but
I'm thinking more the Japanese box arts and stuff I'm thinking of.
It's weird because Tom Dubois did get in a bit of hot water for his cover art that he made for Blades of Steel on the NES, because he actually did copy some photos of actual hockey athletes. But I'm not really aware of him copying anything like that for any box art that he did afterwards.
Also, going back to like the box art, like most of the Castlevania ones, especially the early NES ones, they kind of just eyeball and trace over old classical paintings. So yeah, it's not like they were not guilty of it as well. Yeah, that's mostly what I've been playing, to be honest. Other than I got back into Asphalt 9 a little bit, but you don't want to hear me talk about that. It's just that. It's just that game again.
Nothing new happened in Asphalt 9 this time.
I mean, there's like another special event, but it's more of the same thing. It's pretty much how it always is. Yeah, that's what I've been playing. Do you want to go next?
Yeah, I'll be quick again because it hasn't really been much. I suppose it's just been P-Cross mainly. Like
Mario's P-Cross.
Yeah. Well, I have finished level 10 of the Wario side now, and as far as I know, there's not only the special bit, but if you beat all that, there's an ultra. So,
have you got to that yet? Or...
No.
Right. You're working on special, are you?
Yeah.
Ooh. So there's even more stuff beyond what you thought there was.
Yes.
Ooh. The music got really weird on some of them Wario ones. Like, it was almost like a weird cacophony. Like, it was like the songs from earlier, but they're all broken.
Yeah. It's like Alex Kidd levels of weird, I suppose.
Yeah, that one song in the Mega Drive game, yeah. That one.
Yeah, that's kind of been it, really.
Yeah, just Mario's Cross mainly.
Yeah,
you've been playing that most nights, haven't you?
Yeah.
while I've been doing other things, I guess, like animating and stuff. Oh, I forgot. There's another game I was playing in the week that I actually played quite a few hours of, so it's a bit silly that I forgot to mention it. Because I set up a new backloggery account because I got rid of my old one because it was incredibly out of date. It was like at least 10 years old. Okay. So I put in all of my Switch games, and then it turned out like 80% of them are unfinished. So I thought, oh, I should probably just throw on a random Switch game and just see if I can try and get through it. And the game I ended up picking was this platformer called Miles and Kilo. Is everyone?
Oh, I know that game. I have that one.
Yeah, it's like the sequel to a game called Kid Trip. And basically the main difference with this one, it's very similar to the first one, but it's got like nicer, almost 16-bit kind of graphics. The main difference with this one is you've got like a dog as well that sometimes shows up in the levels, and you basically run up to him and you grab his leash and he sort of drags you along, and then you start controlling the dog. And the thing that sold me on the game was the fact that the dog basically has a homing attack, like a proper Sonic homing attack. But the only thing with the dog's levels and that homing attack is this game is so particular about how you hold and when you hold the buttons and all this kind of stuff. When you do homing attacks, basically if you just press the homing attack button, as soon as you hit the enemy, you're just going to plummet downwards into a pit. But if you hold the jump button while pressing the homing attack, you'll jump forward after the homing attack. And the game doesn't really explain this. And like, because I hadn't played it for a while, I went back into it and I was like stuck for ages trying to figure out how to actually reach this platform after homing attacking an enemy with the dog, and just kept falling off the level. I was like, what am I doing wrong? And then I eventually figured out that I had to hold the jump button. I thought that was a bit weird. But otherwise, that game's really good. There's some levels in it that took me like, I think there was one level that took me 80 attempts. One level took me 130 attempts. It doesn't even look hard when you watch the level being completed, but it's one of those games where you really like the jumping. The way your character jumps and then drops down is all based on how you're pressing and letting go of the button. Like it's like pinpoint accurate, and the levels are designed around that. So there will be levels where it just looks like a bunch of simple jumps, but they're all so pixel perfect that you're just going to die over and over and over and over again. And it was getting a bit frustrating, but I've managed to get through most of the game. I think I'm on the last world now. I played a couple hours of it, but it's got some pretty funny story stuff. The bosses are quite satisfying, actually. They're quite fun, and each one's quite unique. They're kind of like on rails. It's quite good. I think that game's quite often pretty cheap on the Switch, so whenever it is cheap, even if it's not, I'd say if you like pixel perfect platformers, it's quite a good one. I'd say it's even better than the first one. The game's also got really good HD rumble. Like even in the cutscenes, there's like some pretty good like HD rumble use of like helicopter noises that just make a little rumbling that feels like a helicopter and all that kind of stuff. It's pretty cool. I guess you finished what you were playing, haven't you? So
yeah.
Now I've finished what I was playing because I just remembered that one.
Yeah, it's kind of and then it's just the same old cycling between Pokemon Go and Dr. Mario World.
Yeah. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Elk.
And
your turn.
Okay, so all I played this week was Phantasy Star Online 2. I didn't make time for nothing else this time, but I got a lot to talk about. So I'm still going through the story missions while there's still time to get that Dreamcast Mag Evolution device.
Oh yeah.
I'm already halfway through episode 2 now. And episode 2 is when things get really, really good. And the episode 2 also forced me to make an auxiliary because you need one for a certain mission in that game, and I didn't bother with one up until that point. So what an auxiliary is, it's a it's a little AI.
Explain every mechanic. It's fine.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep this brief though, because this is something I have to warn people about when they play the game. So it's a little AI partner who goes on missions for you of their own volition and gathers materials that you might need for quests. And when you make one, you get to customize it the same way you make a character. So I just made mine a little cast girl who's based on the Sega Dreamcast. I made her all white with some orange highlights. Some parts of her are dark blue to match the box for the Dreamcast console in North America. And there is a story mission in episode 2 where you need to have an auxiliary or you can't play it, because there is a guy in episode 2 who orders you around, who makes you do stuff for him, basically. And for this particular mission, he needs to possess your auxiliary, and he can't do that if you don't have one. And the reason I want to warn you about this is because your auxiliary levels up when you send them on missions. So when you go through story mode, you're going to want to make your auxiliary early, because I didn't make one until I got to this mission, and my auxiliary is level 1 at this point. And I was about level 45, so my auxiliary couldn't make a dent in any of the enemies. It was kind of tough to get through.
Oh, wow,
okay. So, yeah. And then after that was this big fight. Big epic fight. It was huge. Loved it. Not going to spoil anything, though, of course. But anyway, I think it's about time I explain what's up with the thumbnail this time.
Yeah,
because
that's where this has come from. You basically, I think sometime yesterday, you posted a load of screenshots with no context on Discord, and I was like, okay then. And you were like, I'm going to explain this on the podcast. And I was like, all right. there's stuff going on there.
Something really hilarious happened to me when I logged into the game last night. So in PSO2, I need to explain something real quick. There's several blocks in each ship in the game, and the blocks are there to separate all the players into different blocks so that one ship or a server doesn't get overwhelmed. And I think there's about 200 blocks. When you log in, it sends you into a random block, but you can move to any block you want at any time. So when I logged in last night, the game just happened to log me into block number 69. And when I logged in, the first thing I see in the main lobby was players made a makeshift strip club where a bunch of players just they pulled out their female avatars with whatever sexy outfits they had, and they had them in there the whole time, just doing pole dancing and strip dancing. Not strip dancing. What is it? Chair dancing emotes.
Okay then. The game has chair dancing emotes.
Yeah.
It's like they were asking for it.
There's a few characters in there. I hesitate to say girls, because we all know how online games are. Just because someone's avatar is a girl doesn't mean the player is a girl.
Exactly. Yeah. In fact, most of them probably ain't.
Yeah, but a few of them
dance for me.
Yeah, they have emotes. A lot of these are paid emotes that you have to get through premium memes.
Of course they're
paid. They spawn a pole or they spawn a chair and they just dance around it. And they make sure their avatars
you meant they just found a pole in the level and then they were just doing the dance emote near the pole. I didn't realise there was actually a emote that actually involves a pole. That's ridiculous.
No, there's some emotes that spawn certain items. So during the Independence Day event, I won a festival emote where my character just raises their hands in the air and a bunch of fireworks go off behind them. And right now there's another premium emote available that spawns a carousel horse. So they just ride around on a carousel.
All right then.
So yeah, people were telling me, I was talking to people about what's going on. They were telling me, yeah, this always happens in block 69. And then of course people started bringing up some symbol art emotes, which are straight up explicit hentai.
Oh.
And then they were telling me they even have security for block 69. They have actual security guards, like a like a real strip club might have.
Are these just like other players that have decided, right, this is my job. This is my job on this server. I will be the bodyguard. I will check people's IDs.
Yes, that is exactly what happened. Well, except for the ID checking part. I don't think they can do that. Because that would be people sharing personal information.
I mean, I was joking, but yeah.
Yeah, but other than that, like there were also a bunch of weird costumes people set up for no reason. So I'll explain what's in the mask that's in the thumbnail. So there was one guy who who covered up his thumbnail in a whole bunch of Sonic character masks that they just edited into one big Sonic character homunculus.
Yeah.
And they just danced there. So you probably remember when I was talking about during the Sonic anniversary event where you could get a Sonic and an Amy mask just for typing "gotta go fast" into the chat.
Oh yeah.
Well, apparently there was other masks besides those two, and I don't know how you get those. But this one guy made this monster with a Tails mask, an Amy mask, a Knuckles mask, a Dr. Eggman mask.
Yeah, it's almost everyone.
Yeah, so you can equip things like that as accessories, and you can change the size, the angle, the position of the accessories, and people took them to astronomical levels.
Yeah, so you could just make complete monsters out of these things. You could just apply 10 masks on top of each other, tilt them around a little bit, and you end up with that.
Yeah, people also do that with like Rappy costumes and Lillipond costumes. Lillipond is another alien race in Phantasy Star Online too. And someone else, they had a female character dancing around with a fan in sexy lingerie with a Dr. Eggman mask.
Oh yeah, and a sombrero. Dr. Eggman and a sombrero.
Yeah, it was. I believe it was a Phantasy Star Universe type of sombrero. It's worn by the Force characters. There's a Force character.
In-law reason. There's a canon in-law reason for the sombrero. It's not just there for fun.
It's not like a real world Mexican sombrero.
It's not even a Samba de Amigo sombrero. It's just a Phantasy Star Online canonical sombrero.
Basically, if you remember the default Newman cast from the original Phantasy Star Online, it was kind of like the hat that she wears.
Okay.
And speaking of the there's a pack called the Ragol Memories pack where you get a bunch of old Phantasy Star Online related items. It costs $29.99 US, and I just found out that's going to be pulled from sale at the end of July. So if anyone wants that, you better go get it. Assuming you live in America.
If anyone wants to pay the price it probably would have cost back in the day to own that game, to have some stuff in this game that's free, then you're basically
That's a good way to think of it. This pack is also how you get the Ragol Memories, which is the currency I talked about last time that other shop takes, where they sell you even more Phantasy Star Online related stuff. That's the only way I'm aware of that you can get it. And then finally, today is the day where people finally get those Genesis Mag Evolution devices that you would have gotten last month if you used the group chat during the group chat event. That happens after today's maintenance schedule, which I believe is already over.
Okay.
So yeah, that's about it. I still have more of the story to get through the Dreamcast thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, life goes on in Phantasy Star Online too.
Yeah. Life goes on with horrible monster mask creatures and sexy Eggmans in sombreros.
Yeah, if you don't like any of that stuff, stay out of Block 69.
You've been warned. Also, Sega, what are you doing about this? What are you doing? Do you see all the dirty sex stuff going on in your game? Do you see all the pole dancing that you encouraged by putting in pole dancing emotes? What are you doing?
Nope.
Sort it out.
Because none of the players snitch on these guys. But they will snitch on the bots that keep... But they will snitch on the bot.
Snitched on the entire channel by broadcasting this. They're gonna go send players that pretend they are police there or something.
It's fine. Sega blacklisted you. Remember? They don't pay attention to your podcast.
It's all because of that trophy.
Yeah, all because of that trophy. You could have killed off Block 69,
that plastic trophy that they probably bought out of a pound shop.
Well, at least no one's gonna come at you with pitchforks and torches for killing off Block 69.
Yeah, there's that. Right, so I guess that's what we've been playing then. I guess if that's everything you've been playing, then yeah, we're done.
Pretty sure I've been playing nothing else except for those arcade games. But like I said, I don't have much to say about them.
Yeah, I think pretty much all of us have been playing those this week because of that sale. Which when you put things on sale, people buy them. See that, Taito? You don't have to. You don't have to charge £40 for free Darius games. You could also not charge that ridiculous amount of money. Just saying.
Yeah, same goes to you, Nintendo. Oh wait, people will pay any price to play Breath of the Wild or whatever.
I mean,
I'm sure to some people that game's worth $1 million.
Retro games, but yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah, I guess we shall move on to the news. And I guess we will start with this kind of surprising thing that I didn't expect to see. So, Worms Armageddon is 21 years old, and Team 17 celebrated it in a way that I don't think anyone would have expected. They gave the game a patch. Like, they actually updated the game. For the first time in, I don't even know how many years, probably most of those years, they added a ton of bug fixes. They added apparently 67 new features, including improvements to the frame rate of animations. So they basically doubled the frame rate of everything, as an option. So when you're jumping around with the rope and stuff, it's a lot smoother. They added a ton of fan content, things that people put in as mods, but now they've officially sanctioned them. They've added more languages. They've just chucked loads of fan community stuff on there, and that's apparently it was re-released on Steam back in 2013. So maybe that was probably the last time they patched it beyond now. And I just thought that was really cool. Who patches a game that old?
Actually,
often it doesn't generally happen, does it?
No.
I'm trying to think of a time before.
If only they could patch the Worms games on the Dreamcast and N64.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Or if any games on those consoles could be patched.
They could just re-release a disc if they want, or put out CD. CDI.
I guess they could. I guess they could make a patch for the. I guess they could make a patch for the ROM. Everyone does that.
Yeah, that's true.
Limited run.
Yeah, all that. Yeah, do re-release some Dreamcast games.
That's a good point.
Limited run or something. That'd be fine.
Only problem is Dreamcast games were on GD-ROMs, and GD-ROMs aren't printed anymore.
I mean, that doesn't stop indie developers.
Well, they make CD-ROMs, but an official game that went through Sega's approval process.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
That's not going to happen. Those usually took up more space than an actual CD-ROM could handle.
Yeah,
because a GD-ROM,
I doubt
that stood for gigabit. That stood for gigabit disk. Which those things held about a gigabyte of data. That's 300 more megabytes than a CD-ROM.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that doesn't stop Limited Run from releasing Star Wars Racer on the N64, even though they haven't got official sanctioning from Nintendo. So doesn't stop it, basically. Oh, also Limited Run did put out some Sega CD games a little while back, and again,
those are a lot easier to reproduce.
True, but as I say, people have been making Dreamcast games for at least a decade without the need of GD-ROMs, so it's not a hard thing to do. It's doable as long as your Dreamcast can play mil CDs, then which most of them do.
Those games are much smaller than anything that was built to run on a GD-ROM, though.
Even most official Dreamcast games don't fill up the discs. It's only like the really high-end ones. I doubt Worms Armageddon fills up a whole disc.
Yeah.
But I just thought that was really cool because, like, I still remember when I had like snide copies of some Dreamcast games, and some of them were like not even 100 megabytes. Some of them were like 50 megabytes and stuff like that. But yeah, I just thought that was really cool because also I guess Worms Armageddon must still have a really good following of like fans that still play that one because they have made loads of Worms games since then, but I still think this is like the quintessential Worms game for most people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It is one of the better Worms games I've heard. I lost track of a lot of the Worms games, except for the ones that are really different, like say Worms, the golf game, or Worms 3D.
Oh, Worms Golf was actually really fun. I actually quite like that. That was really addictive, actually. I just still feel like Armageddon was kind of like the peak of the series, and then after that, it was just like doing more of the same, more or less. I don't really think they managed to. I mean, they added things like classes and all kinds of stuff in later ones, but
that was I think that was Revolution that had like the classes.
Yeah, there was like the chunky worms and the
one with the huge brain
worm and all that. But yeah, I don't know. I just feel like Armageddon's still the one that most people think of when they think of Worms, and like being able to go back and play it with all these new improvements is cool. It's very cool.
Well, if they didn't think that it was the best Worms before, I'm sure they'll agree now.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's quite obvious that people are still playing the Steam version online. Otherwise, they wouldn't even do this. I would have thought it was probably just from how much fan support the game has that they felt it'd be nice to give them something back, and officially sanction some of their stuff.
It is a really cool gesture when something like this happens. Yeah.
And
it's not the first game I can think of where it's happened too. The developers of Postal 2 have actually updated that game a few years ago.
Oh, it's a shame.
And that game's about.
Shame it's Postal 2.
I guess, but that game's almost as old as Worms Armageddon. It's still a beloved classic, all things considered.
I'd put quotation marks around classic and beloved. Actually, I'd put very
cult
big.
Classic is more accurate than,
or just cult.
I guess.
Just
and
cult.
then
it's a
Volition
game that existed.
And then Volition is also doing something similar with Saints Row 2, which I know that game's not quite as old, but it is over a decade old now.
Yeah, I saw about that. They were doing like a proper remaster almost, like pretty much going in and fixing so many things and redoing all the graphics and adding all this new lighting, and that looked really
basically
posh.
Because unlike Saints Row, unlike the games that came after, Saints Row 2 is kind of a bad PC port. But fans have been improving it with their own mods, and now Volition is updating the game with some of those mods, as well as adding in the DLC from the console versions, which were never made available for PC.
That's really good, yeah. I like seeing... This is one of the things about the PC gaming scene that's always quite nice when stuff like this happens. I mean, obviously, you don't see stuff like this happen with console games because they would rather sell you the game again.
I can think of a couple other PC games I'd like to see it happen with, like Unreal Tournament 2004. People still play that.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
People still play the original Unreal Tournament online.
Oh, yeah.
Either one of those could do with some updates.
Yeah, I could see that. I guess next thing I could talk about is there's a couple games that have been out for a few years now, or in one case, one that's been out a few years, and one that I don't know how long it's been around, but there's two games coming that have been out for a while that are going free to play after being, like full price games, or I suppose like, well, they were, you bought them basically.
Yeah.
But now they go.
I sure bought one of them. I was talking about it on 2 past podcasts.
Yeah. So Rocket League is 5 years old, and to celebrate, they're making it free to play.
Yeah,
which
great.
Is
really good on it.
I might actually finally try this game out now.
You should, because it's amazing.
Yeah, I've always heard good things about it.
And it's also very fitting that it's finally going free to play, because the game does have a cash shop along with Season Pass, like you would expect from a free game like Ninjala or Fortnite. And it always seems strange to me that it had those.
Yeah, for a game that is... You can get that game like retail for the Switch and stuff. You can get like physical versions of that game. So the fact that it has all that stuff, despite you also buying the game, is a bit weird. So yeah, making it free to play makes sense, especially when the game is, it's 5 years old. There isn't that much chance of people buying it in shops now.
It also used to have loot boxes, actually, but they did away with the loot boxes in an update.
Yeah, that's true. They did, yeah. So I'll probably actually finally give that a shot. I think I may have played it briefly at an event somewhere, maybe, but either way, I always knew I'd like it. I just never got around to like buying it. But now that it's going to be free, and I think it's going to be free on basically everything. Like they've announced the PS4 version, the Switch version, the PC version. Speaking of the PC versions, they're sort of doing a weird thing with that. So it will still be available on Steam for people that have already bought it on Steam, but it's basically moving to Epic Game Store as a sort of exclusive for anyone that gets it new now, which is whatever. Weird.
Yeah. But I was expecting
Epic
it to happen.
Sort of owns that game now, don't they, or something like that?
Yeah, Epic owns the developer now. They bought him out a while ago. So I was expecting this to happen at some point.
Yeah, I guess that's probably why it's happening. It's just strange when they do this thing, where it's like it's already available. It's been available on Steam for 5 years, but now they're like, oh, we're taking it away because money hats. It's a bit weird.
Well, at least they're letting people who already bought the game still keep it.
Yeah, that's the least they can do. It'd be even worse if they were like, nope, you got to buy it again. I mean, they don't. It's free to play, but you got to start your file again because it's not compatible with Epic Game Store's save file or whatever. But luckily, they haven't done that.
Even EA knew better than to do that when they started up Origin.
Yeah, yeah. With the Epic Game Store, they have a lot of money-hatted exclusives that are new games that Steam never had. But taking away a game that's been on Steam for 5 years just seems like a weird thing to do. But whatever. So the other game that's going free to play is a fighting game called... Wait, what's it called now? Is it
Fantasy Strike?
Fantasy Strike, that's the one. So that's another game. Again, I was always quite interested in this one, but never just got around to buying it, and it never went on sale or anything, so I just never got around to it. But yeah, that's going free to play on the Switch and PC, and I believe other consoles as well. So if anyone doesn't know about this one, it's kind of like Dive Kick, but like you got more moves, but I think it's like a simplified fighting game where you basically, I think each character has a certain amount of hits they can take before they're KO'd, as opposed to like just a normal health bar. And yeah, it's kind of like somewhere between a traditional fighting game and Dive Kick. So you don't have one hit, but you do have like a very small amount of times you can get hit.
Yeah, and every character has a very unique gimmick to them. Similar to Blaze Blue, actually. Except Fantasy Strike is designed to be a lot easier for newcomers to the genre to get accustomed to than Blaze Blue.
I mean, anything is simpler than Blaze Blue. Being a rocket scientist is easier than playing Blaze Blue. I like BlazBlue, but it is needlessly complicated. I actually kind of like BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle because it's simplified. Like, they took a lot of the weirdness out. There isn't like 100 things popping off in the corners of the HUD, like saying, "Oh, you did this and this, and this thing's activated, and all this stuff." And you're like, "What?" Whatever. I'm just pressing buttons and things are happening. It's fine. I'm just beating people up. But
yeah.
So yeah, I think in the case of Fantasy Strike, I think it might be free to play now or very soon, and in the case of Rocket League, it's going to be sometime in the month as well. So if anyone's been on the fence about those two games, now you've got no excuse. You can try them out.
Yeah, I'll certainly try Fantasy Strike. I was pretty interested in that one too, but I just forgot about it for a while.
Yeah, same. I think my favourite character from what I've seen of that game is the clock master guy who just like throws cogs and like stops time and does like slow motion stuff. He looks fun.
I was expecting you to say the panda guy.
I mean, there's a panda guy too, but yeah. Yeah, what else has there been? This literally got revealed today. So the developers of what's it called? Lethal League have just announced a new game called Bomb Rush Cyberfunk, and it is basically Jet Set Radio. They are basically making a Jet Set Radio without the name.
Yeah, I just saw this about an hour ago. This is interesting.
This was actually revealed like 4 hours ago, apparently.
I actually didn't know this was from the people that made Lethal League.
Yeah, it's Team Reptile. I'm pretty sure they're the guys that made. Yeah, they did. Yeah, they also made a Megabyte Punch, and after Lethal League Blaze, which aesthetically was Jet Set Radio AF. I am kind of both pleasantly surprised and not surprised at all that they're doing this. But what's quite interesting about it is how the trailer has already had like almost 30,000 like retweets on Twitter, and it's just getting shared like to hell and back, and it's already getting loads of fan art as well based on the few glimpses of characters we saw in the trailer. And judging by Hideki Nagamura's retweeting of it, I assume he's going to be contributing music. In fact, the song in the trailer is maybe his. I don't think it's been confirmed yet, but it could be.
It definitely does sound a lot like something I would have expected him to make.
Yeah.
I'll be genuinely shocked if it wasn't him.
Yeah, if it's not, then someone's doing a very good job of imitating his style, I guess. I mean, he did contribute a song to Lethal League Blaze as well.
He did, and that's
a fantastic song.
It is. I bought that song on Bandcamp. It was
yeah, same here. Actually,
it was weird, and I love it.
Yeah, it's like I need to set up a Bandcamp account to buy one song. I'm just
I don't think you need
one song.
I don't think you even need an account to buy it. I mean, you can download it at any time you want if you have an account. But if you buy it without one, you can only download it once, so you better hold on to it.
Yeah, so just Sega, here's your arse. Like, as someone put it, like it's getting shared all over the place, and this could have been you, Sega. You could have announced a Jet Set Radio with Team Reptile. It makes me wonder if this was originally going to be a pitch. I wonder if this was yet another Jet Set Radio pitch. Like maybe Team Reptile went to Sega and went, "Hey, we want to make a Jet Set Radio with you," and they were like, "Nah." Okay, we'll just make it ourselves. We'll change its name, but essentially keep it the same. Because it graphically it looks like it's in between the original and future. It's like a best of both, because like both games had like their strengths and weaknesses, especially in like the controls department, but also like visually I still think the first one's cooler looking, but like this looks like a nice in between of the two. It's definitely doing a better job at the aesthetic than Hover did. I must admit, I kickstarted that game and I did end up getting a Switch code from them many years later, which I was really grateful for. I just kind of feel like that game was alright, but I just kind of feel like the way they were advertising it as like this is the spiritual successor to Jet Set Radio when it was first revealed, and it's like it's really not. It's kind of its own thing. Aesthetically, it's got nothing on Jet Set Radio. It has a couple Hideki Nakamura songs in it, but for some reason you can only listen to them in a certain corner of the world in that game. I don't know why, but it's just like one room you walk into and it plays Nagamura's music, and then as soon as you walk out of the room it fades away and just plays the kind of meh music that the rest of the game has. It's just like, why can't I listen to that for the whole game? I just want that on a loop. I have to just sit in this room to listen to it. But yeah, it's not a terrible game by any means. I just think it wasn't really scratching the itch that I wanted from it, I guess. Like, I shouldn't really put those high expectations on that because it was an indie game, but this already looks like it might be nailing, at the very least, the aesthetic of Jet Set Radio and Future, much more so than Hover did. I mean, again, I don't think Hover was really specifically trying. Well, it was, but like it was also sort of doing its own kind of MMO kind of thing, where it's like always online and you can jump in with other players and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
I will say that even if this new game doesn't turn out much better than Hover did in the end, the fact that Hover got as much attention after that was announced as this game did, and all throughout its development, and just the fact that the Kickstarter was as successful as it was, and I think that's a testament to how much interest there is in even just a game that copies what Jet Set Radio did.
Exactly, yeah, you're completely right.
And I know Sega's trying to do more with their old intellectual properties today, but even now, I think they still sometimes underestimate just how much Jet Set Radio, sticks with people even today.
Yeah, I would say I'm one of those people that finds the original game a little bit hard to go back to, as much as I absolutely love the presentation, the music, the graphics. It just oozes like style. I think that's the main thing that people hold on to with that game, because when you actually go back to play the original Jet Set Radio, oof, it's hard to go back to. Like, the controls are clunky. It hasn't aged brilliantly.
Yeah, even with the HD remaster that we have today, the game is certainly a product of its time.
Even more so, I'd say even more so than maybe or maybe as much as like Sonic Adventure or something like that. It's like back in the day, it was amazing. Now it's a bit tricky to go back to because the camera controls and just the way you move in that game just doesn't feel as smooth as it maybe should. And I'm really hoping this new game feels more, at least feels more like Future, because Future was definitely a massive improvement, but I really hope this game also trails its own path as well. I hope it's not just a complete carbon copy, even if that would be fine too. I don't know.
I guess we'll see, but the main takeaway is Jet Set Radio just oozed personality that most other games don't even try to replicate. When I think that's part of why it gets so much attention anytime a game like this is announced.
Because there's
nothing else like it. There's no competition.
Even with Lethal League Blaze, gameplay-wise, that was a completely different game. It's like a fighting game. But the aesthetic of that game just completely exemplified that same specific Dreamcast cool. You know, like the Dreamcast had a very specific style to it when you put stuff like, I don't know, Samba de Amigos, Space Channel 5, Crazy Taxi, all that kind of stuff. I feel like there's a very specific aesthetic to Dreamcast games, or a lot of Dreamcast games, not counting all the like PlayStation ports and stuff, but like the stuff that Sega was making at the time. It was a very specific aesthetic that I feel like most games don't even, as you say, they don't even try to replicate anymore. But I feel like we might be getting into an era now where people will start making games like that. We've had so many NES and SNES style platformers, and we're starting to see loads of like PS1 era style games that have got like deliberately flaky 3D and like really low res textures and stuff. But I feel like if we start to get to the point where indie developers are pumping out quality Dreamcast style games, I'll be a very, very happy man.
Nostalgia runs in cycles like that, so we are starting to get to that point.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
We're starting to I feel like this decade we're going to see a lot more stuff catering to the 90s and 2000s kids, just like in the last decade where you had stuff mostly geared toward the 80s aesthetic, all the NES stuff you were talking about.
Yeah, I mean, that stuff's still going on as well, but I guess that's what I like about the indie scene is, like, if there's a niche that you dig, someone at some point has either filled it or is going to fill it at some point. Like, there's so much now that fills almost every niche, kind of, in a way. Like, and if like the original developers either don't make games anymore or they don't make those style of games anymore, i.e. Sega doesn't really make as much stuff like that anymore. They still make games that are Sega, you know, Yakuza, but like, I don't know, they just don't make as many games now as they used to in general, so they're obviously only going to make the stuff that is like a bigger deal for them, I suppose.
Not to mention, this is probably the most primo time for Sega to start getting back into their old IPs. Because the most famous stuff from Sega came out of the 90s. Sega owned the 90s. Even if they...
Pretty much.
Even if they...
For the most part. Well, up until the Saturn here.
They weren't... Maybe they weren't a great business back then, but most of their most well-revered games came out of that decade.
Oh, for sure, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just really looking forward to this. The fact that it's by Team Reptile adds so much to it. It just adds a lot more. It gives me a lot more faith in this because it's not like some developer I've never heard of. It's not, you know, they're trusted. They have done they've done games of this aesthetic before and nailed it. And they also make very fun games. Lethal League is a bloody fantastic game. Probably one of my favourite fighting games of the last decade, if I have to be honest. I mean, it's technically a fighting game. It's also sort of a sport game. But yeah.
It's a little of both.
Yeah, a bit of both. Again, it sort of falls into that sort of like dive kick. I don't know if you can call it a genre, but like sort of like fighting games, simplistic fighting games where you have one-hit kills and... It's not so much about execution as it is timing and spacing. You know, it's got all the fundamentals of a fighting game without the complicated controls and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's just a very unique twist on the fighting game, kind of like Super Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
People often forget that a fighting game doesn't always have to follow in the footsteps of Street Fighter 2.
Exactly,
you can do all sorts of unique things with it.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm just really curious to see how this turns out. As I say, they literally just revealed a teaser trailer that's like 14 seconds long, and they've put it up on Steam as a, you know, so you can wishlist it and all that kind of stuff. Just have a quick look at that. They've got a few screenshots on there as well. But yeah, Bomb Rush Cyberfunk.
Okay.
That's the name.
It looks great.
What did you say it was called? Bomb Rush Cyberfunk?
Yep. Bomb Rush Cyberfunk. Doesn't exactly roll off the tongue, but yes.
I like the word cyberfunk. I'm surprised I never thought of that.
I would have just called it cyberfunk. I would take the Bomb Rush part off. I'd just call it cyberfunk. Cyberfunk radio, there you go. Just be really on the nose.
I think that would have been a much better name. That would have been a much better name. I agree.
I don't know. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah. Well, I wish the developers all the best of luck.
Oh, for sure. Yeah,
they're doing us a great service.
They really are. I'm looking forward to this very much so. Right. Another bit of news which I thought was quite interesting is Yakuza 7 Like a Dragon is actually going to have an English dub.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Like, it's not the first, like the last Yakuza game to get a English dub was technically Judgment, but then other than that, the only one that ever got dubbed was the first one on the PS2.
There was also Fist of the North Star Lost Paradise, if you want to count that.
Oh yeah, you can count
not
that.
Not the same universe, not even close, but it's the same type of game from the same developers.
Yeah. So to me, it feels like Yakuza has become... I mean, it was always a big deal in Japan, but I feel like Yakuza is finally becoming a big deal over here now. Like, Sega are actually taking it very seriously compared to back in like the PS3 days where they were like, oh, we might localize this, we'll cut a load of stuff and we'll release it like 5 years late. But here it is.
I can't believe Sega was like that only just 5 years ago.
Yeah, how things changed. Yeah, the PS4 era really helped just skyrocket the Yakuza series into what it deserved to be, like a premier series for Sega. Not just in Japan, but everywhere, because it is one of the best things Sega's ever done. You know, it is Sega encapsulated. Like everything Sega's ever made up until now is encapsulated in this series. Like,
and then it also made them realize, wait a minute, if this worked for Yakuza, we could also do this with just about any series. Which is part of why they're trying so hard to work with other IPs lately.
But I do feel like Yakuza is definitely the series that Sega's internal studios have the most passion for. It's the one that they've made the most games for in the last generation. You can basically play every single Yakuza game on the PS4 now. You can, because there's the remasters of 3 to 5, there's the remakes of 1 and 2, 0 and 6, so you've got all of them on there. So Yakuza Like a Dragon is coming out on PS4, but it's also going to come to Xbox. What's it?
Xbox One and
I keep forgetting the bloody Xbox names because their branding lately has been so bloody confusing.
Yeah.
Basically, Xbox One's getting it, the Xbox Series X is getting it, and they've announced a PS5 version as well now.
Well, it's inevitable, but yeah.
Yeah. And the fact that it's going to have a full English dub, including the voice of George Takei. Is it Takei?
Oh God!
Yep, George Takei.
That George?
He's going to play
that George Takei.
Yeah, he's going to play the main villain in this game.
Yeah, that's what I was extra surprised by, is the fact that he's playing a villain. I was like, oh, okay.
But I can't beat him up. His memes on Twitter are just so hot.
He actually said that, I don't know what he means by this, but George Takei said that this role is actually one of the most personal roles of all the ones he's played in his entire life.
Wow, okay.
And I have to look into what he means by that, because this news only just came out today.
Yeah, maybe it'll become more clear when you play it. What's quite interesting about that, though, is like a lot of like the celebrity appearances that have been in Yakuza, you know, like Japanese wrestlers and pop stars and Beat Takeshi. Like the fact that George is going to be like a dub voice, but he's not actually going to be. I presume he isn't actually going to be in the game, like physically. Like his face isn't going to be in the game.
I don't think so. No.
I feel like that's a bit of a missed opportunity, actually, to physically have, unless they do that.
Yeah.
But I think if they were going to do that, it would have been in the trailer. They would have showed him off, like they did with Beat Takeshi. They made a really big deal out of Beat Takeshi when 6 was revealed. It was like, there he is. The other thing that was really interesting about the trailer as well is not only are they dubbing the game, they've actually redone all the lip sync to actually line up. Like they've actually reanimated all the lip sync. So Sega of like I guess America, Sega Europe, whoever's handling this localization, they're really taking it seriously. Like I feel like going into this, next gen that's coming up, it's technically, well, it's not a reboot, but it's like a new chapter in the Yakuza series. It doesn't have what's his name, the main guy,
Kazuma Kiryu.
Yeah, he's nowhere in this game. This is like a whole new canon, I suppose. Like a new, not a new universe, but like new cast characters.
It takes place in the same timeline, but it revolves around a new character named Ichiban Kasuga.
That's the guy, yeah. Yeah, so... And also this one's a bit of a gameplay shift as well, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
From what I've seen.
Yep, it's more of a turn-based RPG now.
Yeah, it's actually really interesting. I know a lot of people were like, oh, why isn't it the same thing? It's like they made like 8 games. Let them try something else, God's sake.
Not to mention that after all this time, a lot of people haven't played all of those other games yet.
No, I haven't played any of them yet.
Which is why they're trying to bring them all to PC and to Xbox as well, so they don't. So it's not just PlayStation people who get to experience all this.
Yeah, exactly. That's the other thing. Like this used to be for the longest time, outside of like a Japan only Wii U HD remaster, was like a PlayStation exclusive series for ever up until just the last couple of years. Now they're bringing them to Xbox, they're bringing them to PC.
Well,
I like it. I like it. I like that Sega are actually taking this super serious, and making sure that as many people get to play it as possible.
And I'm glad that Microsoft even sees this as so much of a big deal that they highlight this in their Xbox Series X presentations too.
Because it's going to be on Game Pass as well from day one, as far as I know.
Yeah, all the other games have been, yeah. It just seems a bit weird that on the copy of my Yakuza Kiwami, the first one, it says only for PlayStation on the cover.
That's what I mean. They were exclusively to PlayStation.
Poorly.
Yeah, aged like milk. That's why you shouldn't put exclusive stickers on your games, because it always comes back to bite you later.
Yeah, and then to be fair, I'm sure no one expected something like that to happen with Horizon Zero Dawn, and now that's on Steam.
Yeah, that's really surprising. There's actually been quite a few PlayStation's games that were exclusive that have popped up on PC lately. There was that, what was it, Beyond Two Souls, or one of those games, one of the David Cage games.
Beyond Two Souls, yeah. And also the other ones he did, like Heavy Rain, and there's one other, but I don't remember what it's called.
Yeah, whatever.
Detroit?
Really, Detroit, it might be that one, yeah.
Yeah, Detroit, Become Human.
Yeah, that's one.
It.
Yeah, so quite a lot of PlayStation stuff's been popping up on PC and stuff. It's interesting. But yeah, nice to see Sega really pushing the boat out with this new game. Looks like they're really banking on their speed, and maybe like a whole new, like an entirely new series of Yakuza games that could come out on the next generation. Whether they will all be turn-based RPGs or if they'll be more traditional Yakuza games or what, doesn't really matter. Either way, nice to see that they're going into, the next gen, pushing this series as hard as they can. It's nice.
Yeah, especially when they haven't put number 7 on the end of Yakuza.
Yeah, that's what makes me think they're treating this like almost like a reboot, or just like, hey, this is the new gen. Here's a new game for your new console. Buy this with your new console. That's always a good idea, to have a game at launch of a new console. That's like, hey, there's this big ass fun game that you can play from day one. That isn't just this one is a port, but
yeah, well, it is Yakuza 7 in Japan, but over here it makes sense to rebrand it, because most people missed out on Yakuza for the longest time, like I said, internationally.
Yeah,
and since this one doesn't really require you to know much of Kazuma Kiryu's story up until this point, because it involves a new character, they may as well start rebranding it now.
Yeah.
Plus, I remember the localization director for Atlas USA, who works on the Yakuza games. He mentioned in a live stream once that if they were starting with the Yakuza series now, they wouldn't call it Yakuza in the West. Because that might make, because they don't want people to think that you play as a guy who's actually part of the Yakuza, because every game does involve the Yakuza, but Kazuma Kiryu himself, he's not actually a Yakuza member in any of these games. Yeah, it sounds a little weird, but yeah.
I know what you mean, yeah. It just feels like they're really pushing this as like a big deal, which is good. Like, do that. I'm happy.
Yeah, this is nothing but good things for Sega. Even if you're not a Yakuza guy, just how far the series has come just means nothing but progress for Sega as a whole.
Oh, totally. Yeah, this is like, it's gone from being a sort of niche thing that only Japanese people really dug, to a thing that they sort of reluctantly localized because people wouldn't stop moaning at them, to like probably one of their premiere series worldwide now. Like, you got it's
which brings up another really good point. If you feel passionate about a certain game that maybe most other people aren't really into, don't be afraid to speak up and let the company in charge know how much you love this game and how much you want to see more of it.
Yep.
Because maybe it doesn't always result in much, but in some cases like this, you might just end up proving to that company that that game is a lot more popular and resonates with a lot more people than they ever actually thought it would.
Yeah.
Because market data cannot always be trusted, all right? That's usually calculated in a very controlled environment.
Yeah.
And it's good that all this is happening in the age of the internet, because it's a lot easier for you to reach out to those companies. And believe me, they are listening. If this doesn't prove that, nothing will.
Yeah. Totally agree. Like, Sega might be like ignoring the rabid Jet Set Radio fan base, who are probably one of the most passionate fan bases going, and like one of the most positive fan bases going as well. I can't think of a fan base as glowingly positive as the Jet Set Radio fan base, despite the fact that they only ever got 2 games and a handheld game, and that's it. And like, there hasn't been anything for almost 20 years, you know.
Yeah,
it's nice.
But hey, even if they do ignore you, just keep shouting at them. They can't ignore you forever.
And if they won't make the game a new game in the series, just do what Reptile Games are doing and make your own one.
Even if they don't do it, someone else will, and people will pay attention. Like this. I forgot to mention this earlier. The same thing kind of happened with Splatoon, actually. Splatoon is a very, very, very different game from Jet Set Radio or anything that Team Reptile did. But it has the same sort of personality that Jet Set Radio had.
I think that's what really appealed to me about Splatoon, is it felt like Nintendo's Jet Set Radio from an aesthetic point.
Exactly. And they probably weren't even thinking about Jet Set Radio when they conceptualized that game.
Maybe not. Maybe, I don't know.
Maybe not, but the point still stands.
Like, Jet Set Radio is Sega's punk game, and Splatoon is Nintendo's punk game. I guess that's the best way to describe it. It's just punk. It's their punk game. The game isn't necessarily punk in, like, music
not
genre
punk
or
like,
anything.
say...
Oh, no, I mean, that's that kind of scene aesthetic, I suppose.
Yeah.
Maybe not like 60s or 70s British punk, like the Clash or whatever.
No.
But more like Vans Warped Tour punk.
Or just like what punk represents, you know?
kind of like that, yeah.
Yeah.
It's the same sort of a youth culture thing that really never goes out of style. It might change over the decades.
Yeah.
But it's always going to be out there.
Right, so that's mostly the news. I guess the next bit I'm going to talk about is both news and the main topic, because we'll probably end up talking about it for a while. And it's kind of go into like this overarching thing about video game hype in general and how people expect it all the time. So,
oh boy.
So there was a Nintendo Direct Mini on Monday. I think it was Monday, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was Monday.
So it was specifically described on their Twitter and on the YouTube description and everywhere as a Nintendo Direct Mini Partners Showcase featuring previously announced third-party titles, right? So, of course, people see that as, they're going to show Metroid Prime 4 and they're going to show Bayonetta 3 and they're going to re-release Mother 3 and announce Mother 4 and they're going to show us 20 new Smash Brothers characters and they're going to show the Mario collection that has every Mario game ever made on one cartridge,
which is definitely not a rumor, even though it is.
Like, also there's this Twitter account that just says F-Zero JP. That probably means they're making a new F-Zero, and they're all going to be announced within this 10-minute stream that mentions third parties of previous announced titles. So yeah, it came out. It was 8 minutes long. It didn't have any of those things they were hyping it up to have, even though they said it wasn't going to have any of those things. And it got a flood of dislikes and a bunch of people moaning, being like, "Oh, it's not what I expected." And it's like, well, that's on you. That's on you. To actually detail what was in the Direct, because more people were moaning about what's not in it than what was in it, is there was some crappy wrestling game, don't really care. There was some kind of Fortnite looking thing there. But then there was also what I think was a pretty bloody good reveal, and it was they actually showed off Shin Megami Tensei. Is that how you pronounce it?
Mm-hmm. Shin Megami Tensei.
Yeah, yes. I got it right, because people have been talking about people pronouncing it wrong, so I wanted to make sure I got it right. Yeah, they finally showed off some more Shin Megami Tensei 5, which they revealed and haven't shown since the Switch announcement. So it's been over
3 years ago.
Yeah, 3 years ago. I thought it was 2, but then I remembered. Yeah, it was actually, they revealed it with the Nintendo Switch, like that first event where they showed off Mario Odyssey and stuff like that. Yeah, they haven't showed it in 3 years. I think some people were worried it was cancelled, like it had been so quiet, like it was just kind of worrying. And yeah, they finally showed it off again, gave it a sort of rough release date of worldwide 2021 simultaneous release, so meaning it'll come out in Japan and be localized over here at the same time. But not only that, but they actually kind of broke their rule of it just being previously announced titles, because they also announced a port of the third game from the PS2.
Yeah, that one I genuinely shocking.
Yeah, I thought that was a really pleasant surprise. I mean, I'm not an Atlas fan. I haven't played these games, but I know plenty of people, Shelved Gamer included, that loves those games. And yeah, he was very happy. Loads of people on my Twitter feed were very happy. And yeah, I thought that was really bloody good. It's like, what's the problem? This thing was 8 minutes long. It had some boring stuff in it, but it also had that. And I was like, what's the problem? And it's like, when you look on Twitter, it was just all these people going, "Oh, where's my Mario?" And it's like, this isn't.
You got McDonald's. It's like the McDonald's thing. You have like McDonald's at home. We have food at home.
I want McDonald's. We have food at home.
Yeah,
is that what you mean?
Yeah, in this case, that'd be like Paper Mario, Origami King.
Yeah. You've got recent Nintendo things at home. See Paper Mario that literally just came out, and Min Min in Smash Brothers that just came out.
Not to mention, there's a bunch of other Nintendo games you probably haven't played yet.
Yeah,
a lot.
Like right now, as we speak, Nintendo just released a new trial version of Pokken Tournament Deluxe.
Yes,
so if you've never played that game yet,
that's going to be free.
Now's your chance to give it a shot.
Yeah,
and you should, because it's a damn good fighter.
Yeah, that is actually quite a good game. I did have it for a little while, and I ended up selling it just because I wasn't playing it much and I needed the money. But I'm going to be playing some more of it over the week for sure. Nintendo fans need to learn to keep their expectations in check, and they need to learn to read, basically. Like, this isn't the first time this has happened. This is like the 20th time this has happened. Every time the word direct is mentioned, they expect everything. It's like, oh yes, this stream that's 8 minutes long, they're gonna solve Joy-Cons with a free update through the system that will just fix the Joy-Con drift. They're gonna abolish friend codes. They're gonna give every single one of their games dedicated servers. They're gonna fix everything that everyone's ever critiqued them for in one stream.
And they're gonna finally reveal the new F-Zero.
Yeah.
I know they're finally gonna do it this time. They didn't do it last time, but I'm absolutely certain for no reason at all they're going to do it now.
Yeah, and yeah, it's just it's not the first time this has happened. It's not strictly a Nintendo thing, but they seem to be particularly bad about it. I mean, it happens with the Sonic fandom all the time as well.
It happens for Ubisoft.
There was that NGPX stream where it was like, oh, Sega and Atlas are going to be there briefly, and people were like, Sonic game, and it was like 5 seconds of a game that people already knew about, and it was an Atlas game, and it was like a Vanillaware game for about 10 seconds.
Yeah,
like,
that was Catherine Full Body.
That was it.
Yeah, and I think there was like a Vanillaware game in there somewhere, but yeah. People jump to conclusions way too much, and I also feel like I know we have a series on the channel that is literally called Salt or Hype, but I feel like some people just like feed on hype more than they do actually playing video games. Like they get more excited about the announcement of a game than actually playing said game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it reminds me of when Super Smash Bros. Ultimate was revealed. People have been saying for years how much they wanted Ridley in the game. And then in the very first trailer for the game, they actually reveal that Ridley will finally be a playable character. And then people got excited for 5 minutes, and then they immediately stopped caring. And they were like, why isn't Waluigi playable? Because Waluigi was already confirmed as an assist trophy. And everyone's like, oh, they're just trolling. Waluigi's definitely going to be playable. They're going to reveal
Look at the chairs. Look at the chairs.
They're
purple and yellow. Look, the chairs in the background. That must mean Waluigi's going to be playable.
And because of that, poor Sakurai can't even tell people what games he's playing.
Yeah, exactly. We talked about that on the podcast a couple of weeks ago. Like how he's not even he doesn't even tweet about what he's playing because people are like, oh, that means that character from that game is confirmed. It's like no, it just means he's enjoying a game in his spare time.
And I even found out that in the Min Min trailer, when he was showing all the consoles he has in his house, they actually had they in the Japanese trailer they actually zoomed in on those consoles more, so you can see.
They did on the European one as well. It was only the American one that sort of cut that shot out. Yeah.
Oh, what does that say about us Americans? Because like people were gonna, if you saw it zoomed in, you'd notice he has like every mini console. He has a PlayStation Mini. He has a PC Engine Mini.
Yeah.
You know, someone would have if they actually recognized the PC Engine Mini. They'd be like, oh, he just confirmed the PC Engine from Star Parodier for Smash.
Yeah, that'd be it. Also, the PlayStation 4 Pro is confirmed for Smash.
Yeah.
He had every console there. Like he had, I think he had like a PS4 and a PS4 Pro.
Oh.
Yep.
Yeah. Just for comparison, I guess. I don't know.
He's the kind of
does Digital Foundry stuff.
He's the kind of gamer we all aspire to be, and he's not allowed to show it off. No. Because of fans like this.
Yeah. See, whenever Sakurai does like the Smash Brothers streams and like, for example, the Terry one where he was basically educating Nintendo fans on what the hell the Neo Geo is and who Terry is because Nintendo fans don't play anything else other than Nintendo games. Yeah. And like the amount of people that are moaning about Terry Bogard somehow being obscure. That's a whole different can of worms entirely. That just annoyed me. It's just like he's not obscure. He's been in like 40 games. Go away.
Yeah, and even a lot of the people who did actually know who Terry Bogard was, they were like, why is this character in here? I want to see more crazier characters like Banjo-Kazooie. Like I'm pretty sure Banjo-Kazooie is the only character that Smash fans were actually hyped for. Or the only DLC
American and Western fans. Everyone in Japan. Yeah, everyone in Japan was like, "What?" You look at. I think I did actually see a thread about how Japanese fans reacted to Banjo. Most of them were like, "Oh, I think I've heard of this, maybe." Because it was like an N64.
Yeah,
N64 wasn't exactly big in Japan. All that kind of stuff, but yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think like I don't know if anyone remembers the Devolver Digital thing just the other week.
Yeah.
Just the other week, and how that whole thing was basically just taking the mick out of the whole
hype culture.
Hype culture, yeah, that's the word. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
The whole time. Yeah, they were basically just taking the piss out of the whole thing for that whole thing, and as cringy as the Devolver streams usually are. Like, they really did hit the nail on the head with that, especially with the fact that there was no E3 this year, and everyone was trying to make their own equivalent of E3, and there was just so many streams in the last couple months, and I think there's still a few more on the way, and so many of them. I watched a few of them, I didn't watch all of them, but after a while, it's just like, there's so many announcements, there's so many games being shown off, they all just kind of blurred together after a while. And like, as I say, I do a show called Salt or Hype, but half the time when we watch those things, I'm just kind of indifferent. Like, it's not hype or salt, it's just in the middle, it's or. Because like, it's just a bunch of random games. None of them were really super exciting, but they weren't exactly bad looking either. So it's like whatever. But that's just me. Like it depends. Like I think the most hype thing out of all of these conferences was, I don't know, bug snacks. Talk about bug snacks. Yeah, I don't know.
Now, going back to the whole thing about Smash characters, right? If anyone's watching this who's a Rayman fan, they might not like me saying this, but there is a faction of the fan base that is very adamant about Rayman being put into Smash. That's been going on for years.
Oh yeah.
And you know,
I know
as much as it would be nice, you know, because it shows that there's like Japanese, there's a small Japanese following of Rayman somewhere out there.
There's dozens of them.
But you know, the charges are very slim, like compared to other franchises, and I think this faction of the fan base kind of need to calm down.
Yeah. I can say that about a lot of things, like in general, with like gaming fandoms, and
I'm not saying it in a bad way. Yeah. But this is kind of why I haven't been involved with that faction.
Yeah, it's figures. Yeah, I mean, Sakurai has confirmed that the second season pass of Smash Bros. Ultimate is the last stuff for Smash. Once that's done, it's done. So the last few, 4 characters they have to announce, I think, or 5, 4, 5.
There's going to be 6 characters in this pack.
So it'll be 5 then to announce. So once that's done, it's done. And as far as I can tell, I can't see them making. I can't even see them making another Smash Brothers game after this for a long time, because what else can they do with that series? That game has so many characters, so much stuff now. I honestly can't see how they could even make another one after this, but maybe they'll find a way.
Even without the DLC, this really is the ultimate Smash Brothers.
It's like practically the ultimate video game in terms of content. It's insane how much has just been crammed into that thing, like even more so than previous ones. It's insane. Like, it's one of the, people complain about Nintendo games always being full price, but I think in the case of Smash Brothers, it's worth it. It really is. I don't know. It's just like hype culture. In general, I think people were getting a bit out of hand with like expecting constant announcements all the time, like especially while there's a frigging pandemic going on. That's the thing that people are forgetting as well. It's like, where are all these game announcements? It's like, it's, most of them are working from home. They're probably still getting stuff done, but not as quickly or as smoothly as they normally would. It's a lot of things have been delayed. Movies are getting delayed left, right, and centre. So I'm sure games are too, but they're just not as public about it.
A lot of stuff wouldn't be delayed today if people still wore their masks, but people don't want to do that.
Don't get me started.
Anyway.
Yeah, no, that's.
I mean, I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna go too far into that. But that's the type of people we're dealing with here. They don't want to see the bigger picture here.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in the world this year, and it's affecting everything.
It's sad when even Nintendo reminds people themselves in this very direct that this certain global health crisis, which is a crisis, by the way, is still going on. They have this note at the start of the video where it says that because of that, release dates and other information are subject to change. Their hearts go out to people impacted by the certain global health crisis. And, it annoys me because I also see people being like, why can't they do a Nintendo Direct like what they do usually for E3, where they bring a bunch of people together, like Doug Bowser, the CEO of Nintendo of America today. This happened all the time when Reggie was the CEO. But when Reggie was the CEO, there was no pandemic.
Exactly. Plus, I think Nintendo are starting to, I think not just because of the pandemic, but just in general because of like the overhype machine that all the other companies do, and how people perceive like Nintendo all the time. I think they are slowly moving away from Direct. I think they've straight up said that. And I think they're going to be pushing for like just like shadow drops more, like where they just throw a trailer out and go, "Hey, this game's out in 2 months."
Yeah.
And to be honest, I much prefer that. I would rather have an announcement that says the game's coming out in 2 months' time. It's practically done. Here's a trailer for it. You didn't know about it, but now here it is. It's out in 2 months. I would rather have that than, hey, here's a game that has started development. See you in 5 years, maybe, if it doesn't get cancelled.
Oh God, yeah. The amount of times we've seen like Cuphead, like, and how much it had to be delayed and all that.
Yeah.
And
even just like games, I think in the case of Nintendo, they don't want to repeat mistakes of the past. Like, for example, Project Hammer for the Wii, where like they announced it, they showed it off that it was playable at E3, but then obviously complications got in the way and it ended up like getting retooled multiple times. They sunk loads of money into it, and then it ended up just getting ultimately quietly cancelled. There was, the whole hubbub with Metroid Prime 4. They announced it with literally a logo that just had Metroid Prime 4, and then obviously there were complications with that. They started from scratch, moved it to Retro Studios. I think it was being developed by someone somewhere within Namco, I think, like originally. And I guess they put out that statement where they said they weren't satisfied with the quality of how it was going. So they basically started from scratch with Retro Studios. And like that kind of stuff could be prevented by just not revealing the game until it's ready or almost ready to release. And I feel like that's a better mentality than, hey, here's Final Fantasy VII Remake. It's coming out in eventually, and like 5 years later, it finally comes out, and it's only part 1 of a series that will probably never finish. It's like, just I kind of prefer this tactic that Nintendo had, like say with Paper Mario. It's like, oh look, it's a new Paper Mario, and it's like, oh, it's out in 2 months. Wait, what? And it's like, it's better that way because you're hyped for it, and you can play it very soon. You're not like, oh, I'm hyped for this, and then it's like they bring out another trailer next year, and you're like, oh, I'm hyped for this some more, and then there's another trailer the next year, and you're like, I'm still kind of hyped for this, but I kind of wish they'd just hurry up. and then like again, like I don't think Nintendo wants a scale bound. They don't want something like what happened with Microsoft and Platinum Games with Scalebound, where they made this huge hubbub about that game multiple times, and then it just ended up getting cancelled because it just wasn't working out.
The directs were fun, but I'll just say that if they do, I know they're not going to be around forever, but if they ever say that they're canceling them because people get mad, or people just look for reasons to get mad about directs no matter how they go about them, I would totally believe it.
Yeah. I can't see Nintendo straight up saying, oh, you people are annoying, we're going to stop. I can't see them doing that.
But they wouldn't say that. If they did, I'd believe it.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised, because I feel like, especially with Nintendo stuff, but also with a lot of them, there's a lot of announcements. Some of them are pretty cool. Some of them might not be your cup of tea, whatever. But like, more people seem to talk about what wasn't there than what was.
Yeah, like with Ubisoft.
Yeah, like it's always about what wasn't there. It's like, what about this? What about this? What about this?
Yeah,
it's
there
like,
wasn't. There wasn't even a Just Dance reveal, as far as I
mean, I know there's going to be a second one of those in September, but we have reasons for not featuring it. It's all other news involving Ubisoft that we won't really talk about here. But basically, not really a fan of them right now. Basically. I'm not really sure where to go. Yeah, I'm not really sure where to go with this outside of just. I feel like maybe people have gotten a little bit like entitled when it comes to just like constant video game announcements, and maybe they should calm down.
Yes, certainly.
Also, expand your horizons a bit. like this is definitely a thing I would poke at Nintendo fans, especially American Nintendo fans that have grown up on nothing but Nintendo and they only buy Nintendo consoles to play Nintendo games. Expand your horizons. Like, if I don't play Atlas games. I haven't played Atlas games other than Catherine. I'm not a Shin Megami Tensei veteran or a Persona veteran, but I was damn happy that they showed that because I knew how many people were going to be excited for that, and I was like, yeah, they should show off this series. This series is proper underrated. You know, it's quite a niche thing outside Japan. It's Nintendo are giving it a big stage. Like it's not even as popular as Persona, and Persona's technically a spin-off of that. And I was really happy for people with that. But then, you know, it gets tons of dislikes from all these people that were expecting something that they didn't promise. And it just kind of sucks. It's going to make Nintendo's going to look at all them dislikes and think, people don't like Shin Megami Tensei. It's like, that's not what it was. They just never played it and they don't know it. I bet if Nintendo fans played it, they might end up liking it, you know?
Yeah, I feel that way about a lot of things, really, like expanding my horizons.
Yeah.
Because I've, like, going into Rayman, like, I've had a lot of people, like, ask me things like, oh, is this all you ever play? When really, like, I play all sorts of games. Yeah. I like a lot of puzzle games. I even played like BioShock at one point, which was like not my usual forte.
Yeah.
Like I even played what was it? One of the Tomb Raider games I really enjoyed. I picked the first of the reboot
one, yeah.
Yep.
Where you could harpoon seagulls out of the sky.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's
we spent ages doing that.
That's funny.
Like I get it. People still have tribal instincts when it comes to console wars and all this kind of rubbish. But like at the same time, you know, not everyone can afford to own every console. I only have a Switch. I don't have a PS4 or an Xbox One yet. No, I would like to get a PS4 at some point. But even with the Switch, like obviously on the Wii U, it was almost exclusively Nintendo games because third parties dropped out of it within the first 6 months. And there was barely anything on it, just Nintendo games. They were good Nintendo games. They were very good Nintendo games, but that's all there was. But with the Switch, there's so much on there. There are so many third-party games. There's ports of old games that you might have missed out on because you didn't have a PS3 or an Xbox 360. And there's like some dubious ports. I feel like that the Switch doesn't really need to try and squeeze out, but that's like a totally different subject. But yeah, there's tons of stuff on the Switch. Like I've got a couple friends that I know that have straight up said they own a Switch, but they don't own any Nintendo games because there's plenty of games on that their tastes are already being fulfilled by some of the third-party stuff and some of the indie stuff and all the retro re-releases and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. It's just I don't understand why some Nintendo fans and other fans of other consoles, obviously this happens all across the board, and it even still happens with Sega fans that still seem to be stuck in the past and seem to think that there's for some reason still a feud between Sega and Nintendo when there's not. It's not a thing anymore.
No.
Not to mention the people who think Sega isn't capable of making a good game unless they have their own console to put it on.
Yeah, that too. I've never understood that mentality because Sega have been a third party longer than they've been a console manufacturer now. They've been doing this they've technically been making games for Nintendo systems longer than they were making Sega systems at this point. Like, as far as I can tell, anyway. I think so.
Right. And you know what? Even if you watch this thing and you're not into Shin Megami Tensei and you don't know why it's there, this goes back to what I was saying about Yakuza earlier, where it's a niche franchise that has its fans, sorry, not hands, but it's getting a lot of attention now. So it's good to think that if this can happen with something like Yakuza or Shin Megami Tensei, it could happen to anything. The companies are listening. Just let them know what you like, but don't be a douchebag about it. All right?
Yeah.
Calm down.
Where's my Mario? Where's my Zelda?
Yeah.
Wah, wah, wah.
Yeah. Don't be like the Sega fans who are crying out to Sega every year, like, "Where's Shenmue 3? Where's Shenmue 3? Where's Shenmue 3?" Because that probably put them off on making Shenmue 3 even more.
Maybe.
I feel that way about Pokemon as well. Like the Pokemon Direct last week, where it was like
week,
where
it was like 10 minutes long, wasn't it? So
yeah, the 10-minute one. Like, as much as I would like to see like some games come up, like, I don't know, like a Let's Go Johto or a remake of Diamond and Pearl or anything like that, I really would like those, but like, I'm happy with what I've got at the moment, and you know, what with the pandemic, I can wait.
Yeah.
And a few other neat little games came out on the side, like that little cafe mix game. And
have you tried that yet?
I haven't yet, but
that is free, so
yeah,
might as well download it. Yeah, I think people were like, I get it. I do get it, because like it literally happened to me with that Treehouse stream. Like, again, kept my expectations in check, because they did say specifically it's going to be half an hour of Paper Mario, and then we're going to reveal a Way Forward game. I was like, I like Way Forward. They make cool stuff. Even when they make licensed games, they quite often make cool stuff. They make stuff like The Mummy Demastered. They make that Aliens game on the DS. So, yeah, they make really cool. Yeah, even some of their SpongeBob games. You know, like even something like that would have been more interesting in what they actually revealed. And I don't know if you guys were there or you saw the sort of hype of that Treehouse. Oh, I know Andrew was definitely there. Boy, why did they? If people were salty about this direct, like that Bakugan reveal made no sense. That was like tone deaf Nintendo. Like, I don't know why they thought that was worth featuring for half an hour. This incredibly lazy looking cash-in that looks like Way Forward, like something Way Forward literally shat out in a week because they just need to get paid so they can make their next Shantae game. But yeah, same thing happened there. People were like, "Oh, a new Way Forward game. It's got to be Metroid." It's like, no. Go away. It's not going to be one of the free Nintendo things. It's either Mario, Zelda, or Metroid, you know? Oh yeah, that was the other thing in the Direct. They showed off a physical version of that that Zelda Necrodancer spin-off.
Cadence of Hyrule. I almost forgot about that myself.
Yeah, that looks really cool, and I might be considering getting the physical version because I never bought it digitally. And I like when they do this thing, like they do with Tetris 99, where they go, "Oh, here's a season pass of DLC, but if you ignore that, you can get a physical version with it all included." It's like, yep, I'll have that. I'll wait. I'll get.
Yeah, you may as well support that while it's still happening.
Yeah, that's, I like when they do that. But yeah, you know, the Way Forward thing, I wasn't like expecting the moon with that, like some people were. They were like, "Oh, it's got to be Shantae cross Wario Land." It's like, what? Sure, that would be nice, but I'm not expecting it. Like, even if it was like, I mean, come on, even if it was like something on par with like the Mummy Demastered, that would have been fine. I would have been like, yeah, that looks cool. But it was just like this thing that Bakugan that's like Z tier Pokemon clone from the like mid 2000s.
Card game thing, isn't it?
I think they're like little toys that you roll out and they sort of transform or something. I don't know. It's up there with like, it's down there with like Beyblades for like like Pokemon. It's
apparent
style things.
It's apparently one of the biggest toy franchises in the world. But like mini toys, it's going to appeal to a certain age group.
I'm going to put this out right now. It's not. I might be an old git and I might be out of touch.
It is.
It's not one of the biggest franchises in the world. It's not. Lego is. That is not. It's just some random toy brand. It's not one of the biggest in the world.
Lego is one of the biggest toy franchises in the world.
No, it probably is the biggest toy franchise in the world. Bakugan,
maybe it is, but
isn't anywhere near that, or even Pokemon or anything like that. It's not even. It's probably not even up to like Yu-Gi-Oh. You know, like on the scale of like Pokemon's like the very top when it comes to these style of like Japanese developed, kind of shonen-y, but also just like collectathon creature battle game things. So you got Pokemon at the top, then you got like I guess Digimon, Yu-Gi-Oh would be sort of like second tier, and then you got way down the list you got Beyblade, and then even further down the list you got Bakugan and stuff like Dinosaur King and shit, you know. I don't know.
Oh yeah, you're totally out of touch. I promise you.
Yeah, but when was the last time anyone even uttered the word Bakugan? Probably in the Wii days, the DS days. Like, I can't think of, like, I just don't see how anyone, like, I don't know, I don't see how Nintendo thought that very lazy looking Bakugan game that had the graphics. You could have told me that was a port of the Wii game and I would have believed you from what it looked like.
I'll give you that. Okay, I'll give you that much. Putting Bakugan in a presentation, which was mostly going to be watched by adults, is probably not the smartest move. No, even if it was Way Forward.
Yeah, I mean, like
because adults are going to expect a certain thing from Way Forward.
When they revealed it, when the trailer came up, I was like, oh, they're just showing some trailer before the Way Forward the Way Forward reveal, aren't they? It's like, oh, it's just a random trailer in the middle of it. And then Way Forward people came in with Bakugan shirts. I was like, wait, hang on. What? Okay. But even, I mean, like, I don't care for Bakugan. It doesn't mean anything to me. But if the game looked good, I'd still be like, yeah, that looks fine. For what it is, it looks fine. But it didn't. It looked so lazy. It just looked like such a boring, bland cash-in, you know? It just looked like...
I guess, but I mean, do you even know how Bakugan works?
It just looks like another Pokemon thing. There's monsters and they throw a ball out. They were literally throwing not Pokeballs out, and then monsters appeared, and then they kept. Well, I mean, they kept shooting lasers into the dragon's arse, and that was kind of it.
Well, I mean that's the thing. When you don't know about Bakugan, your first instinct is to compare it to something you are familiar with, like Pokemon. But you know, Bakugan is very popular with children for a reason.
Is it though? Like, I haven't been in I haven't walked into a toy shop and seen a whole shelf of Bakugan stuff. Bakugan is like one of those toys that's like in the deep corner next to some other forgotten toys that like barely anyone goes near.
Yeah.
All right.
I see some at work, but
yeah, you see the odd one, but it's not
like Pokemon or like other popular toys. Like,
nah, I don't know. We're going super off tangent here.
Yeah.
Yeah, remember how we were complaining about
people complaining about reveals? Now we're complaining about a reveal, but yeah. So yeah, the people that were moaning about that 8-minute direct, at least you didn't sit through half an hour with Bakugan, is all I'm saying. That was much worse. Because at least that was only 8 minutes. This was like over half an hour of people pretending to be interested, like pretending to be passionate about this very drab game. I don't know.
So yeah, that was that.
Yeah, I guess we can wrap that up.
Yeah.
With, like...
Yeah, I already lost my train of thought anyways.
Yeah, same here. Like completely.
I think the moral of the story is be patient, kids.
You know, there's things going on in the world that are preventing things from happening. I mean, imagine being a movie buff right now. It's like waiting for like certain films to come out that are now delayed indefinitely.
Like James Bond.
Yeah, but the big difference here is you don't see anyone saying I'm going to sell my Blu-ray player or cancel my Netflix subscription just because I haven't seen any announcements of any exciting movies that are going to come out within 3 months.
Yeah.
Unlike with Nintendo fans who
see Fast and the Furious 8 and 9.
Unlike entitled Nintendo fans who see one poor direct and they're gonna be like, "Oh, Nintendo's given up. I'm gonna sell my Switch. I'm gonna stop playing Super Smash Brothers Ultimate, even though it's still an awesome game. But I don't care anymore because they don't have. I don't know.
They've gone 10 minutes without announcing something exciting.
They didn't show an update for Breath of the Wild 2 this month, which probably means they canceled it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just entitled babies.
It's important to remember we're still in a pandemic. A lot of people have died. A lot more will die. And guess what? It's going to affect video games and all your other favorite entertainment medias, because guess what? All that stuff is made by people.
Yeah,
people who are just as vulnerable to illness, injury, financial woes, and anguish as you and I.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought video games only happened because Shigeru Miyamoto just snaps his fingers and a new game appears. No. And even if it did, Shigeru Miyamoto's a person too.
Yeah.
Yep. Point made.
Yeah, point made.
All of us. I'm glad I at least got to say that.
Yeah. Well done.
Good point out.
Yeah. I also think like people have been stuck indoors for too long, and it's making them incredibly angsty and bored, and they're like, I just want announcements.
No surprise there.
Yeah.
Heck, I'm just as bored as anyone. I'm just, what you should do, you see your old video games you have lying around. Obviously, there's going to be a bit of a backlog. Play those. Play those and be a bit patient.
You can always pop outside for a Pokemon raid or something.
Yeah.
Or you could do like Hunk Thunder and just play Animal Crossing. What is it? New Horizons.
Yeah.
Yeah, Animal. Yeah. Just if you have that game, just keep playing that because there's always stuff going on. Or like me, just keep playing Phantasy Star Online 2, and that game's free. So if you have a PC that can play games from within the last decade, it can play PSO2. Come on.
Be like me. Also, I need to finish Cuphead for a start, and I'm still like hopping between like 6 or 7 different Pokemon core games. So
yeah,
set up a backloggery, put all the games in, realize how many games you haven't finished, and start working on those.
Yeah.
And I know someone's going to complain about this, but if you're one of those guys who saw the direct and was genuinely unimpressed or uninterested in the games you saw, but you kept a level head about it, you didn't blast Nintendo for promising something for not delivering something they never promised in the first place. We're not ranting about you guys.
No.
You're fine. You're setting an example that more people need to follow. And better luck with the next direct.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I think Nintendo are probably right in that they should probably just scrap the whole direct thing and maybe just drop trailers. Or maybe just call them don't give them a name. Just go, oh, here's a stream.
Or maybe just like one event a year. Yeah.
Maybe. But then that would hype people up even more because they were like, oh, this is the only one.
Yeah, good point.
Maybe.
I really liked the Paper Mario tactic. I thought that was a really good way of going about it. The game was out 2 months. The game literally came out 2 months after they revealed it. They just dropped it and went, here it is. It's out soon, and that's it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Hey, if it works, it works.
Yeah. I thought it worked really well. I would be fine with them doing more of that. In fact, because we don't really know what they've got coming out in Christmas, I think that's exactly what they're going to do. Like, I think we'll be getting maybe like October drops for games coming out in December. I wouldn't be shocked. Like, that's probably their tactic from now on, and I'm kind of cool with that. I know it's not going to be cool with everyone, but yeah, it's cool with me.
Yeah, this is Nintendo we're talking about. People will pay attention no matter how they put the news out.
Yeah, true. It's much more of a pleasant surprise when they just do a trailer drop like they do with Paper Mario. No one knew it was coming. They didn't say, oh, we have an announcement coming up. So no one had any expectations. The trailer just appeared on their channel. And people were like, oh, wow, okay, that exists. We didn't know that was happening. That's nice. So it's just a much more positive way of consuming video game news,
Yeah, and you know what? Sometimes things are even more pleasantly surprising when you don't even see them coming.
Yeah.
Totally. As opposed to like waiting 2 or 3 years for something that, you think, is it going to get cancelled? Is it going to come out? I mean, Cuphead came out and it turned out perfectly fine, but not anything like Rayman Raving Rabbids. where the original concepts for it were dropped.
Yeah, and I know Gagaman made a joke at the expense of Final Fantasy VII Remake earlier, but hey, that eventually came out and people loved it, even if it is just part one of a.
Yeah, but they revealed it 5 years ago. Now you think that's a bit early?
Yeah, but like still, it eventually did come out, right? It's not like they canceled it.
But they could have done.
Or it's not like Duke Nukem Forever, where it took twice that long and people were unimpressed in the end.
I think, I just think like unless you know for sure a game is almost ready to ship, maybe don't make a big deal about it until you know for sure it's definitely happening.
Ubisoft Montpellier, what with Wild and Beyond Good and Evil 2.
Oh, Wild was with Sony, but that as well. But... Yeah,
right.
Beyond Good and Evil 2 is up there as like one of the most baffling ones because it's like that's been years and years of like them just teasing little bits of it, and basically no one knows what it is. Like it's so confusing as to what that game even is, and as far as I can tell, I would almost bet money on that getting cancelled because it's. Like, there's no way that's happening this gen. It'll probably be next gen now, if at all. You know? Like, plus, I don't even think what they've shown of that game so far even resembles Beyond Good and Evil. It may as well be its own thing because the number means nothing at this point. I don't think many people even remember the original Beyond Good and Evil. As great as that game was, I don't think the name Beyond Good and Evil 2 has any selling power now. They should just call it something else.
Or just start from scratch.
I guess, I would be happy with them making a sequel that actually looks like the original game and plays like the original game because the original game was fantastic. But there you go.
Yeah, well,
right.
That was kind of a downer.
Well, not so much a downer, just more of a. I don't know.
Yeah, we're trying not to be overly negative here.
Yeah, well, we spent like the last half hour or so being that, but
yeah,
just wanted to get out of the systems, I guess, because it gets a bit overwhelming. Like social media and stuff just kind of bogs you down sometimes.
Yeah, and we don't always have someone to complain to, so we needed the catharsis.
Yeah,
and I'm sure someone needed to hear that someone agrees with them on certain things.
Yeah, so look forward to the next Salt or Hype. Yeah.
I can hardly wait.
I don't even know what the next one's going to be. Isn't the next Xbox thing in a few days?
That's tomorrow.
Is it tomorrow?
It is tomorrow.
Oh,
wait, what's happening tomorrow?
Xbox showing off a whole load of games. They're not showing off anything hardware or price or anything, just games.
Okay.
Oh, no way. I didn't even know that.
So that's
Banjo-Kazooie 3, Conker's Bad Fur Day 2.
So just to be clear, software, not hardware, no prices.
Yeah,
no release
I didn't even realise it was
software.
Not to mention, Phil Spencer himself already confirmed.
I think it is early. Well, I say early. It's early for West Coast, but just give us a sec. I'll just look it up quickly.
Yeah, because
while he's looking that up, while he's looking that up, I want to say something for the Nintendo fans listening. Phil Spencer himself confirmed that Xbox Game Pass is not coming to Nintendo Switch or any other platform.
Just in case you were hoping for that.
Yes. So it's going to be.
I don't think he's going to announce, and I don't think he's going to announce a Banjo-Kazooie game for Switch.
Yeah, no. It's an Xbox Series X game thing.
Yeah. So the Xbox, where's it gone? Xbox Game Showcase. So even in the title this time, it says it's going to be software.
It doesn't matter how well they word these things.
Yeah,
it seems. But yeah,
it's going to be obviously tomorrow at 9 a.m. on Pacific time. So that would be 5 o'clock British time. So
okay,
right.
Yep. And that'll be noon for Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I guess you could see us. Well, I'll have to see if I've got time to do it, but yeah, we should be able to do that tomorrow. So yeah, look forward to the next time. We'll hype tomorrow. Woo! Hype! Announcements! Woo!
Yeah.
Where we'll be analysing software and not hardware.
And it probably won't be salt or hype. It will probably just be.
It'll just be Halo and.
It'll just be stuff that I haven't played. That I'm like, oh, I'm happy for other people.
Yeah.
And Nintendo's not going to be a part of it. I want to make that very clear.
Yeah. Right. So that was a very ranty but still entertaining, hopefully, Lucky Hit podcast.
It's our system now. We can all relax.
Yeah.
It's a good thing I found that. It's a good thing I found that homunculus mask thing in Phantasy Star Online too, because I feel like that visual is the perfect analogy for all that ranting.
Yeah, I guess so. Right, so that was the Lucky Hit podcast number 80. Next one will be 81, then we're getting really close to 100. I think we're going to hit it by the end of the year. I got a hunch.
Yeah.
So I've been the Gagaman.
I've been Cherry Terrier.
I've been an angry Hunk Thunder.
And I've been an equally angry elk. And instead of telling people to wash their hands and stay your ass home and watch Lucky Hit streams, which you should still be doing anyway.
Not worth it.
I'm just going to tell people to quit being a bunch of little bitches.
Yeah. It's about time.
Oof.
Stop it.
All right, with that bombshell, we'll be off. Thanks for joining us. Sorry that it was a bit weird and inconsistent this week with like a literal last minute, we're doing it tomorrow thing yesterday.
Yeah.
But,
stuff happened.
Stuff happens. Things happen. As I say, I can't guarantee they're always going to be on Mondays, but we'll try to keep them back on Mondays when we can. But either way, we'll let you know in advance when these things are happening. But I still want to try and keep these things weekly, even if it is on a different day. So there's that. I'd love to keep this thing weekly, even when I'm back to work, if I can. That'd be great, even if I'm not doing much else. I'm at the moment with some freelance work, so I might not be streaming as much for the next couple of weeks because it's quite a tight deadline and I've got quite a bit to do. So probably not going to be streaming as much at the moment. Just so you guys, just for the heads up.
And I'm back to work on from Sunday. So.
Yeah. So,
I think it's worth telling people that if you like these podcasts so far, you may as well subscribe to Lucky Hit and click that bell like everyone says. Set reminders on the streams so that even if there is a delay, you'll know when everyone's going live, so you can come tune in.
Yeah.
And for our younger viewers, ask your mummy and daddy for permission before you watch a Lucky Hit podcast.
And no, we're not doing any more Thomas stuff. Right, bye.
Yeah, and if you're gonna comment with nonsense, at least be nice.
Yeah. All right, see you later.
All right, thank you.
Bye.
Good night.
All right, have a good week, everybody.
And you.
No.